Imagine it. The year is 1853. Just a couple of months ago, Franklin Pierce won the presidential election. And now he was either on his way to a funeral or taking his family on vacation since he knew he was going to be pretty busy for the next 4 years. Either way, the destination was Boston. And by the way, moving to Washington, D.C. was the last thing that the incoming First Lady wanted to do. In fact, when she learned that her husband won the party's nomination, she fainted. Franklin used the fact that being president would give their son amazing opportunities for his life to sort of swayed her to be excited about it. However, she wasn't happy that he ran for the presidency. She certainly wasn't happy that he won and was completely devastated to be moving to DC. So on January 6th, Franklin, Jane, and Benjamin set out to Boston from their home in New Hampshire. And somewhere along the way, just outside of Andover, which ended up being about an hour away from their destination, the train car that they were on hit a bunch of rocks and it caused the train to derail and roll down an embankment. In the process, there was only one injury sustained, and one serious injury, and that was to their son, Benjamin, who was unfortunately nearly decapitated in front of his parents. Franklin jumped up as soon as the car stopped rolling to check on Benjamin, and that's what they found. And he tried to cover the scene, so that Jane couldn't see it, but it's too late. Now, Jane was a very religious woman. She saw the death of her 11-year-old son as punishment for her husband seeking that high office. This is probably a good time to add that she's so immensely devastated now and for the rest of her life by the death of her son Benjamin, because he was her only surviving child. The Pierces had 3 children. All 3 were sons. Her first son passed away after 3 days. Her second son died at 4 years old from typhus. So at that point, she dedicated her life to raising Benjamin, who was about 2 years old at the time of his older brother's death. In the aftermath of his passing, Jane wrote letters to him addressed to Benny, talking about her failures as a mother to him, which is especially sad considering how devoted to him she was. So to say that the Pierce administration began in mourning is an understatement. When it came time for inauguration, Franklin left their home in New Hampshire and traveled down without his wife. Him being the youngest president elected up until that point meant he had a lot to prove. In fact, he was the only second president ever to swear upon the law book and not the Bible. And he's also the only president that memorized his inauguration speech. And in it, you can get a hint of the grief that he's experiencing with this quote: "You have summoned me in my weakness. You must sustain me by your strength." Due to her immense grief, Jane could not attend Benjamin's funeral and didn't go to the White House for a while. And when she finally did reach the White House to be with her husband, she refused to attend any social functions for half of his tenure. One thing she did do was try to connect with her son by writing letters to him, but also through seances done at the White House. And this was a period of time where spiritualism was a thing, so it wasn't weird that she was super religious and having seances. Following Franklin's tenure as president, Jane avoided their home in New Hampshire as much as possible for the rest of her life, another 6 years, because it just reminded her too much of Benjamin. The loss of his son kept Franklin in a deep depression, and many observers believe that that grief had a negative impact on his presidency. Post-presidency, In addition to losing his 3 sons, he lost Jane. And at that point, he started drinking heavily and dabbling in spiritualism. Sadly, he got to a really healthy place the year before he died. But then he noticed that his health started declining. And when he discovered that he had cirrhosis and that he wasn't going to recover from it, he decided that it was time to go back to the bottle. So he drank heavily until his death. Both Franklin and Jane are interred next to their sons in Concord.